Hello, Jen here with a book video for you. I am joining Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Lynsey from Lynsey's Little Library for BookList Thursdays. I have been loving this series that they are doing. Every Thursday they're bringing you a list of books based on prompts that they've come up with, and it's been a really good way for me personally to add really good books to my TBR list and also go through my shelves and kind of think about the prompts that they're using and to see what books I would pick off of my shelves. So this week's prompt is the books that you have had on your shelves for the longest. You could take this in two ways. I thought for a little bit about how I wanted to interpret it. I could show you books that I've had on my shelves since I was a young child. I have like some of my really old little kids books that I've just carried with me and let my children read and stuff like that. I have books that were my dad's that I've just kept. I have some really old books that used to be my husband's father. So I have some old books on my shelves. I also have some really old books that I bought myself, textbooks from university and things like that. So I do have some old books, but I've read all of those. And so what I'm going to do is I would like to show you 5 books off of my shelves that have been on my shelves the longest, or, you know, from my best estimations, as long as they could be, that I haven't read yet. So the first one is Lullabies for Little Criminals. This is by Heather O'Neill, and I picked this up a really, really long time ago. I think it was definitely before we moved to Alberta, so maybe like at least 10 years ago, if not more. I didn't bring a lot of books with me when we moved here, so if I brought a book, it was either because I really, really wanted to read it, or I really loved it and already had read it and wanted to keep it in my collection. And obviously this is one that I really, really wanted to read, but I haven't yet. So this is based on a young girl. Her name is actually Baby. She doesn't live with her mom anymore. She lives with her dad, but he's a heroin addict. And as she gets a little bit older, she kind of catches the eye of a local pimp in the city where she lives. And of course, because of where her dad is and how they live, she kind of is in that world already. And he's a very dangerous person, obviously. He's a pimp. The other girls that he has, they're all young girls. They all have this sort of slave-like ideology of him, and Baby kind of falls into all of that. And I think, I'm not really sure of the exact details, but somehow she's able to escape that. And so the story is just how she does it. Her coping mechanism is that she's really good at telling stories, and so I think that obviously ties into the title, Lullabies for Little Criminals, and it just sounds like a really probably hard-hitting story, but yeah, it sounded really interesting, and I've held on to it for a really long time, and there are tons of beautiful covers for it, all in these like neon colors and stuff, and so I've just always had it, and I should probably read it. So my second book that has been on my shelves for a really long time is called When the Day of Evil Comes. This is by Melanie Wells, and I do not remember where I got this book from. This is the 2005 edition. That's when it was printed, and I'm pretty sure I got it in 2005. And it probably came from a recommendation from somebody, or it was probably like a buy 2 for $15 at Chapters kind of deal, and the back just sounded good, and I picked it up. But I've never unhauled it. I've never gotten rid of it because there's something about it that just really intrigues me, and I want to read it. So it's about a psychology professor who is getting ready to go back to school, and she has this really weird encounter with a very pale person. You can actually see like the author's interpretation of that on the cover. And it kind of unnerves her a little bit. And then from that encounter on, her life kind of falls apart. She's accused of some impropriety by a student. Her relationships with her coworkers are dissolving, and she's really just trying to like rein in her life and figure out what is going on. So it says here, Dylan Foster is about to get a crash course in spiritual warfare and a glimpse of her own small but significant role in a vast eternal conflict. But when the dust settles, will anything be left of her life as she knows it? I have no clue how this is rated. I didn't look it up on Goodreads. I don't know anyone who's read it. So maybe that's part of the reason why I've held on to it and it intrigues me, is because there's just not a lot that I know about it. So we'll see how that goes. So the next book that I found that have been on my shelves for a really long time is actually the whole series, I Hunt Killers. This is a series by Barry Lyga, and the premise of the books is that they take place from the point of view of a teenager. I don't know if it says, it doesn't say how old, but Jazz is the son of a serial killer. So his dad is the world's most infamous serial killer, and basically it's the book from his point of view. So it says, now with bodies piling up in the sleepy town of Lobos Nod, Jazz must work with the police to prove that murder doesn't run in the family. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a YA series, but I love serial killer books and that kind of stuff, and I think it'll probably have a lot of, deal with a lot of the issues of, is this something that might be genetic versus, nurtured? And so, yeah, it should be pretty interesting. And I know that these books have done the rounds on BookTube before, and they have, some high praise and some low praise and stuff. So they definitely caught my attention enough to get all three of them. But they have been sitting on my shelves for a long time. So I really should get to them. I think it's been a good 5 years that I've had them. So next up I have The Knife of Never Letting Go. This is book 1 in the Chaos Walking series by Patrick Ness. It's about a town where everyone can hear everyone else's thoughts, or can see everyone else's thoughts, something like that. And there's a boy, like a teenager, who has a secret, and he is basically on the run for his life, trying to get away from some sort of pursuer. But the whole concept is, how can you escape from someone if they can read your thoughts? So it sounds really cool. You do hear about it a lot on BookTube, and every time someone mentions it, I always think I have to pull it out and put it at the top of my pile so that I can see it and remember that I have it. I don't know that it gets particularly awesome reviews or horrible reviews, but it definitely sounds like a really good book, and I do want to read it. It's been on my shelves for a long time. I think I probably got it at least 5 years ago, so we have to get this one read. My last book for today is The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. This is another big chunker of a book. It was Connie's pick, whenever that was, years and years ago. Thank you, Connie, for the recommendation from Chapters. Yeah, this just sounds like a really good book. It's definitely the kind of book that I would really enjoy reading. It's about a young girl. I think she's like 15 or 16 years old. She has a fight with her mom and she runs away. And she has these psychic tendencies, so she can hear voices. I think she calls them the radio people or something like that. And as she kind of runs further and further away from home, she has all of these psychic instances and coincidences and things that are happening to her that are kind of making the world a scary place for her. And because she's so powerful in her mysticism or psychic abilities, she catches the attention of a cabal of mystics, and the book just kind of goes on from there. So actually really heavy. It's definitely a book that I am super interested in. I do know that there are quite a few people on BookTube who have read it, and I do hear it pop up every once in a while, but it's been a pretty long time. I think it was published in, let's see here. Oh, well, 2014. Okay, so it's not that old. It's not as old as I thought it was. Yeah, but, you know, I think it had its day on BookTube, and now that's passed. And I should probably read it because I'm sure it's probably a really good book. And I just have to stop being afraid of books that are so big and read them and not have them sit on my shelves for years and years and years. So, The Bone Clocks. It's going to the top of my list. And that's it. That is the 5 books that I have had on my shelves the longest. Like I said, I probably could have picked, 5 other books that have been on there just as long. But part of the fun of doing this particular prompt was it really made me dig through my shelves and consider how long it takes me from the time I buy a book until the time I read it. And I need to pay a little bit more attention to that and really read books as I'm buying them. So this has been a super fun prompt, and I am so grateful to Sarah and Lynsey for letting me join them. I would love to do it some more. Please go and check out their videos. They have awesome recommendations. I love every Thursday watching their videos and finding out what kind of books they have, what they're enjoying, and all that kind of stuff. So go check them out. If you came to my channel from their channels, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it. And to everybody else, thank you as well for joining me. Until next time, happy reading. Bye. Say bye.